Kevin McCullough.
Thank you, friend, for being there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention. And thank you for caring. One of the things that I love about this season is that we get to kind of concentrate on the important stuff. And I know a lot of people thought the election was important. Hey, I gave it the best I could for 4 years. And you know what? God saw fit that Donald Trump's going to lead us for the next 4 years. So that's the direction that he wants us to go. I'm okay with that. If you've listened to my show, you know that I'm okay with that. But whether you were or not, what we're talking about right now is really important. So I'd appreciate it if you'd kind of lean in a little bit to what we're telling you. We're telling you about the stories of young girls who have had their lives robbed from them. Literal human slavery. You think it doesn't exist on the planet anymore. You know, we've had abolition movements. Everything's been set free, right? No. There are more people in slavery today on planet Earth than ever in human history. And in the 18 countries that my friends at Christian Solidarity International work in, there's a form of slavery in most of them. So we are on the front lines trying to do all that we can to say, hey, this is wrong and we need to do something about it. The kind of most prominent place that they're at work is in Sudan. Sudan and South Sudan got divvied up as new countries at the end of the Sudanese Civil War. What happened there was the world governments got involved and negotiated the end, and they left all the slaves in northern Sudan. 185,000 at its peak is how many northern Sudan had in custody in slave masters' households there. That through the CSI, slave liberation progress has been reduced to about 35, maybe 40,000 that are left. But every year there are several hundred that we have the chance to identify, negotiate the release of, and get out of there. And that's what we're doing this year. 208 names is where we started. And we have about 3 or 4 dozen to go before the end of the year. And I'm asking you to help us by just taking one name off the list. It's a $250 gift. And when you do, they receive everything they need to start their life over again. And that's really important when they get to South Sudan, because the new life has just started at that point. Todd Chapman is back with me from CSI. And Todd, these women, when they are liberated, there seems to be a couple of things that are consistent in their stories. One, everyone's been treated inhumanely and grotesquely horrible. Like there's just nothing about their life in slavery that has been admirable at all. They've been ritualistically raped by their slave masters. Some of the slave masters give the slaves to business associates or their sons or other people to just use on occasion. Imagine just being treated as like, a bath towel. That's kind of the way these slave masters think of these women, that they're just, just a component of their life that they can just loan to people. In that process, they are verbally abused many times by those that are sexually abusing them. But then in addition to that, you've got the slave masters' wives that are jealous and angry and ticked off with them because the husband does things with them. So there's no relief when they're in slavery. It's just constant oppression and constant subjugation and constant abuse on every level. And that's what makes the CSI program so important. Explain how it works real quickly for people that have not been with us before.
Yeah, so sure. So we have what we call slave retrievers, and they are just constantly on the lookout, go roaming to and fro, I suppose you would say, looking for slaves and seeking to liberate them. And so the way that we do that is many of the slave owners today they're in the cattle business. And we, in the interest of not creating a greater market for this slavery activity, we never pay cash for the release of a slave. Instead, we negotiated with these cattle farmers, these cattle ranchers, to provide them with a vaccine that is very difficult for them to procure, but it inoculates their cattle against common diseases that can wipe out their herds. And so our slave retrievers, they do the negotiating, and then they will work out the release of one of the slaves. We bring them down into kind of holding camps for a season till we've got a group of them together. And then about 5 times a year, we have a big freedom march, for lack of a better term, where we just march all of these women and now kids. We're able to affect the release of children whenever possible now, which is awesome. We weren't able to do that for a long time. Yeah. And so they march, and it takes days for them to march back into South Sudan. And then we have an entire facility set up there where we render medical aid and counseling. We capture their stories, document them, and we set them up temporarily for a place where they can build a new life and a new community. And then we set about trying to find their families and reunite them. So
we're trying to give them the best Christmas ever. 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010, 888-342-1010. Or if you're like me, online's easier, bringherhome.org. Bringherhome.org. We're trying to bring her home.
Stick around for more of That Kevin next.
That Kevin Show.